I'm gonna talk about scientific method. Index: scientific method, question, research, hypothesis, analysis, conclusion, experiment, and examples. Scientific method: a method of research in which a problem is identified, relevant data are gathered, a hypothesis is formulated from this data, and the hypothesis is empirically tested. The question: which liquid melts faster? Research: the apple juice melts in 19 minutes, the milk melts in 33 minutes, and the water in 37. Hypothesis: I think the liquid that melts faster is the water. Experiment: I put all the frozen liquids on a table at the same temperature and melt the apple juice first. Conclusion: the conclusion is that the apple juice is the fastest liquid that melts. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about the scientific method. First, you have to ask a question. Second, you have to receive the topic. Third, you have to form a hypothesis. Fourth, you have to test the hypothesis. 5, you have to gather data. 6, analyze results. 7, draw a conclusion. And 8, and finally, communicate results. First, you have to ask a question. My example is, why am I sleeping at school? After that, you have to receive the topic. For example, I'm very sleepy first thing in the morning and I take it difficult for me to attend. Then you have to form a hypothesis. For example, if you sleep more, you will have less sleep the next morning. You can concentrate better. After that, you have to test the hypothesis. My example is that I believe that I go to bed before I won't be sleepy the next day. In 5th position, you have to gather data. On the internet, it says that if we sleep more or go to bed early, it is very certain that we will have less sleep. If not, you will have a disease or an illness. 6, analyze results. For example, if you sleep more, you will have less sleep. And 7th step, we have to draw a conclusion. My conclusion is that my hypothesis is correct because I assert that. And finally, we have to communicate results. I communicated my results by this presentation, but you can communicate your results by other way. Thanks for watching. I hope you to like that.
I'm going to talk about the scientific method. Here I have the index. 1. What is the scientific method? 2. Parts of the scientific method. 3. What is a hypothesis? 4. How do we test a hypothesis? 5. What is a variable? 6. What are constants? And 7. How do you write a conclusion? Number 1. What is the scientific method? The scientific method is a process in which scientists answer questions. A problem is identified, information about the problem is gathered, a hypothesis or question is formulated from the information, and the hypothesis is put to test with an experiment to prove or disprove its validity. 2. Parts of the scientific method. 1. Make an observation. 2. Ask questions. 3. Form an hypothesis or a testable explanation. 4. Make a prediction based on the hypothesis. Test the predictions. And 6. Iterate. Use the results to make new hypotheses or predictions. 3. What is a hypothesis? a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. Types of hypotheses: alternative hypothesis, null hypothesis, non-directional hypothesis, and directional hypothesis. Number 4. How do we test an hypothesis? All hypothesis tests are conducted the same way. The researcher states a hypothesis to be tested, formulates an analysis plan, analyzes sample data according to the plan, and accepts or rejects the null hypothesis based on the results of the analysis. State the hypothesis, formulate an analysis plan, analyze sample data, and interpret the results. Number 5. What is a variable? A variable is something that can change either naturally or on purpose. 5.2. Types of variable. 1. Dependent variable. A dependent variable is what you measure in the experiment and what is affected during the experiment. 2. Independent variable is the characteristic of a psychology experiment that is manipulated or changed by researchers, not by other variables in the experiment. Number 6. What are constant? Everything that the scientist keeps the same in both control and the control group and the experimental group. Control group. The control group is used for comparison and it doesn't get the independent variable. Experimental group. The group that gets the independent variable to see how it affects or changes something or doesn't. And number 7. How do you write a conclusion? You must follow these 5 steps. 1. State whether your hypothesis is supported by your data or not. 2. Restate your original hypothesis. Use exact data to support what you have just written. 4. Apply error analysis. Think about what you found out and consider any improvements. 5. Other explanation for why you think the results were what they were. And here is my example. Why do tree leaves change color? Index. 1. What is the reason why this happens? 2. Hypothesis. 3. Test the hypothesis. 4. Gather data. And 5. Conclusion. Number 1. What is the reason why this happens? It all starts inside the leaf. Leaves have color because of chemical pigments, and there are 4 types of leaves. Green ones called chlorophyll, yellow ones called xanthophylls, orange ones called carotenoids, and red ones called anthocyanins. Number 2, we have the hypothesis. I think that leaves change their color due to the pigment inside them, and I think that it is related with the season change and the temperature change. In number 3, I have tested the hypothesis and I've got the reason. Leaves are green in the spring and summer because that's when they are making lots of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is important because it helps plants make energy from sunlight. The summer sunlight triggers the leaves to keep making more chlorophyll, but trees are very sensitive to changes in the environment. As summer turns to fall, the days start to get shorter, and there is less sunlight. This is a signal for the leaf to winterize and stop producing chlorophyll. Once this happens, the green colors begin to fade and the reds, orange, and yellow becomes visible. Number 4. Gather data. 1. Make an observation. Leaves change their color with the season change. 2. Qualitative observation. As we can see, leaves have green color in spring and summer, but when the cooler season arrives, leaves change their color to orange or brown. 3. Quantitative observation. Here we can see a graph with the data obtained on the number of green leaves over a year. As we can see, in spring and summer there are many more green leaves than in autumn and winter. 5. In conclusion, my hypothesis was correct because leaves changed due to the season change. With my research, I found out that not only the season change influenced but also influence the amount of chlorophyll that leaves produce through the year.
Scientific method. We have 8 steps. First, ask a question. Second, research the topic. Third, form a hypothesis. Fourth, test the hypothesis. 5. Gather data. 6. Analyze results. 7. Draw a conclusion. And 8. Communicate results. Here we have a picture of the 8 steps. First, ask a question. You have to ask yourself what do you want to learn. For example, why the plants are green? Second, research the topic. Find out as much as you can. Look for information in books, on the internet, and by talking with teachers to get the most information you can before you start experimenting. Plants have a substance called chlorophyll, which is vital for photosynthesis. It traps light energy from the sun. Third, form a hypothesis. After doing your research, try to predict the answer to the problem. I think that maybe that substance, chlorophyll, contains green pigments which make the plant green. Fourth, test the hypothesis. Design a test or procedure to find out if your hypothesis is correct. Extract chlorophyll from a plant and put it on water. If the water becomes green, it's because the chlorophyll has green pigment. Fifth, gather data. Record what happened during the experiment. See if the water has become green or if it remains without color. In this case, the dependent variable is the chlorophyll. There is a qualitative observation because I'm going to see the green color. 6. Analyze results. Think about the data obtained and see if it makes the hypothesis true or false. If the water has become green, it's because your hypothesis was true. 7. Draw a conclusion. Write what do you think about your hypothesis after watching the results. Plants are green because they contain a substance called chlorophyll that has green pigment and gives that color to the plant. 8. Communicate results. Tell to the people the conclusion you've obtained. Tell the people that plants are green because of the chlorophyll it contains. Bye.